So again, today is June the 23rd, 2026. We're going to be looking at Bhagavad-gita as it is, Chapter 10, Text 10. First, we will do kind of word for word. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te samsatata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te samsatata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Anyone else like to recite the verse?
Tesham satata yuktanam Bhajatam
pritipurvakam
Didami buddhi yogam tam Yenamam upayanti
te.
Tesham satata yuktanam
bhajatam pritipurvakam
Vibhuti yogam tam
Didami buddhi yogam tam Yenamam upayanti te. Krishna, would anyone online like to say the verse?
Tesham sata yuktanam
Desham satatra yuktanam
Bhajatam
pritipurvakam
Dadadidam buddhi yogam tam
Dadadi buddhi yogam tam
Yenamam upayanti te.
Yenamam upayanti te.
Tesham satata yuktanam
Desham satatra yuktanam
Bhajatam pritipurvakam
bhajatam pritipurvakam
Dadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami buddhi yogam tam
Yenamam upayantate
Yenamam upayanti te. Hare Krishna. All right, so we'll do the word for word translation. Tesam, onto them. Satata yuktanam, always engaged. Bhajatam, in devotional service. Pritipurvakam, in loving ecstasy. Dadami, I give. Buddhi-Yogam, real intelligence. Tam, that. Yena, by which. Mam, unto. Me, sorry. Upayanti, come. Te, they. Hare Krishna. The translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport by His Divine Grace. And I just want to say hello and good morning, Inasuya, Kelly, Reina. Thank you so much for joining. And then here we have Lakshmi Priya and dear Govinda. Hearts, so many hearts. Okay. All right, purport. In this verse, the word Buddhi-Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi-Yoga. Now, Buddhi-Yoga is explained. Buddhi-Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and Yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi-Yoga. In other words, Buddhi-Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this, therefore the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in material speculations to understand Krishna, he's acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he's acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi-Yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. Krishna consciousness and with, he should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is intelligent enough, he will make progress on the path of self-realization. If one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
So before continuing, I would like to do the invocation for auspiciousness that's in the beginning of the book for anybody online who would like to repeat. And then for anybody here who would like to repeat, I find it very supportive. All right. Om Janitamirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagarachatam Sahaganavinatam Vicham Sham Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpachayubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Praschacha Desatarine. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
All right. So what came to me and what inspired me actually is some experience to look at this verse. So how many of us have experienced where we are endeavoring and we might become kind of disillusioned or disheartened, and we wonder, we want the right thing to do, and we're not quite sure what the right thing to do is. Or maybe we struggle in some way and feel that there's difficulty, and we wonder how to find ease and how to find peace on the path as we move forward. And I don't know. I imagine many of you can relate to that, whether it's within your career, within Hare Krishna, within personal relationships, parenting moments, maybe choices for service. And a common theme that I've heard from others, and I guess I'll speak in I statements that I experience, is if only I had more information, right? Like if only I knew more, if only, I could read more books, hear more opinions, get some advice. Certainly, it will solve my pain of not understanding or feeling that I don't understand. And then so often, right, we experience, or I experience, that in that quandary, I can gain all the information in the world, and it still doesn't help me. If anything, sometimes I become more confused and more bogged down by the information that I seek. And so what it is that we are looking for, or again, in my experience, what I'm looking for is to feel resolute, to feel confident, to feel I have like this impetus um, to move forward in a steadfast way, and how to feel that way whenever we're in these places of such confusion and we're unsure of how to step forward. Um, so we have this example of Arjuna that's given to us here in the Bhagavad-gita, and he has the information. He understands the fight that is being fought. He understands the consequences of his actions one way or the other, right? If he decides to renounce and go sit on the mountain and be alone, or if he fights, and what should happen to the people whom are on the other side that he knows and loves. And so he is struggling, and he surrenders onto Krishna. Please command me. Please tell me what it is to do, because I'm confused. And so yes, in this verse, right, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which to come to me. It's a promise. It's an emphasis that it's not merely instructions of like, yeah, I'm going to tell you what to do now, and just, do what I say and you'll be fine. But it's with love that we're given this information. And as it says in one of the final verses in chapter 18, the last chapter, thus I have explained to you the most confidential of all knowledge. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Because Krishna is a very loving God, and if he, he could, not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's permission, right? So he could very easily force or make, but that's not love. When there's force, there isn't love. And so we are given information, and we have choice in how we choose. So a personal example, and where all of this has come from recently, is Father's Day recently passed. And I am in general pretty oblivious of holidays, but in association with Raina and Lindsay, I got to look at it. They asked me about Father's Day, and what was interesting was I almost dismissed it. I was like, oh, Father's Day, uh-huh. And in conversation with them, it actually came up. Yeah, a few days ago, I wasn't even aware of Father's Day, and I was crossing some park somewhere. I was walking, and some thoughts of my father came to my mind, and my experience in that moment was just loving affection and fondness. My father has left his body some years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, And, for most people, that might sound very normal, right? Like, oh, yeah, it's your father. Of course, you can have these loving, affectionate feelings. My experience in my life has been when he comes to mind, I feel a lot of tension, anger, resentment, sadness, frustration, confusion. And so here I was having this experience, and I was thinking, is this me? Is this me with this affection and this fondness and this love? Like, what is this? Um, and in that moment that I was asking that, the only thing that came to me was, by some grace and some mercy, I've had some change of heart that I can experience relief. I've had years of, yeah, not to make this into like a Rosemary therapy session, but I've had years of trying to come to terms with the circumstances of my childhood. And here I am without any endeavor of willpower on my own. I didn't have like an extensive therapy session. I didn't, you know, go through some mental gymnastics, and I didn't uh, get electroshock therapy or anything. But, all of a sudden I'm able to experience this loving affection. And I just feel so grateful that this is my experience, even if I don't understand how I can have this all of a sudden. And so yeah, in thinking about this, the next verse is what comes to mind. So we just read 10:10, and 10:11 says, out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So in the places where I've had some yucky stuff covering the diamond soul, not that I deserve any grace or mercy from my actions, but I'm somehow receiving some cleansing that allows me this experience. And I just feel very, very grateful. And I wonder, right, how many of you out there have experienced in your lives some change of heart for which you can't explain, and some change in your experience that you feel grateful for, and otherwise also some places where you currently feel stuck, wishing, yearning, some consciousness, awareness of maybe emotional attachment. And yeah, so again, not understanding, but being with the question, something that came to me in my experience is, so why has this happened? It wasn't me. It wasn't from my will. I haven't done it. I believe and I understand it's will and grace. And what came to me, Super Soul, I believe, is we abandon the old toys for the new, right? Just like a child so easily, without willful, yeah, those building blocks are for 6-month-olds. No, you simply move on. And again, in the spirit of Father's Day, something that I was meditating on that day was Srila Prabhupada is such a loving, he's my spiritual master, and I consider him my spiritual father. And so what's occurring to me is that through a lifetime of like this yearning and emotional attachment for what I wish would have been through a parental figure, I have now experienced, it tells us in the scriptures what it means to be truly loving, and to look out for others' well-being in the highest sense in regards to their relationship with themselves, their relationships with others, and ultimately their relationship with Krishna. And that this is loving in the highest sense. And what I understand, if I understand anything at all, is that to experience this and understand it, the little bit that I do, is enough for me not to hold on to those old stories of what love is and what love I've experienced in this lifetime so far. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, not much time has passed, and I understand I don't have too much else to say, but let me think here. The thing that I will say that was also a consideration in regards to Srila Prabhupada is so we're given his books, we're given his literature, and he's given these beautiful translations and purports where we can understand better. And most of it's beyond me, right? So I read diligently, and I feel I don't understand so much, but I continue. But I will say that, like going to an optometrist, right? I don't know how many of you need corrective lenses. I've needed them since I was like in 6th grade. And so you go to the optometrist and they sit you in this chair with this large contraption, right? And they're like, okay, here's some letters on the wall. They're over there. You know, what's better, one or two? And you start without being able to see anything at all. And then slowly, like maybe drastically, it gets better. And then it's kind of fuzzy or blurry or muddy. One or two, which is better, one or two. And then suddenly it becomes just like, oh my goodness, like there's this sharpness and this definition, and I can see even the smallest letters. And I know, as a person who feels pretty blind, that it's very exciting for me when I get a new prescription. It's enlivening. I remember the first time I ever got glasses. I understand the doctor enjoyed people with their first glasses, because what he did was he took me to a window and he says, look at the tree. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can see like all the leaves, and I can see like the definition, where I've gone however many years with it being pretty blurry and muddy. So anyway, to me, Srila Prabhupada is that lens. And so these scriptures are thousands of years old, right? 5,000 years. And there's however many people who have translated this. There's however many people who are speaking on it. And it's through Srila Prabhupada that I get that sharpness and that excitement of like, yeah, you know, maybe I'm a bit dull and I can't understand completely, but man, it's so vivid when I read from him. And that's why I've accepted him as my spiritual master, and that's why I endeavor to follow him in the best of my ability at whatever given moment. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read the verse again, and then I will welcome anyone sharing. Te sam satakta yuktanam vajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Hare Krishna. Welcome any thoughts, feelings, maybe stories from personal experience, or references to other literature.
There's a lot of beautiful things in this report. I'm just hearing it again, reading it again. And the part that really I wanted to underline, but it's not my book, so I wrote it down. Is but still, if we're not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives us instructions so that we can ultimately come to him without difficulty. Like that just feels so reassuring to me. Like, of course, I'm not going to be intelligent enough. I don't have the qualifications. I don't know about love. I don't know about devotion. I have the same kind of father experience. Like, who was supposed to teach me about love? I have that preconditioned thing that it was supposed to look a certain way. I'm supposed to have a husband or a lover, a boyfriend, a father. Like these relationships were supposed to show me what that looks like, and I was supposed to feel those things so that now I could apply that to spiritual life, and I don't have that. So I'm looking here like, all if I just show up constantly, always, it's using these kind of words, that's the qualification, just engaging, like being here today. And then Krishna will dribble it out, or Prabhupada will drip my veins with a little bit of, if I just do service, even if I don't know. And so as I was reflecting on all the services that I think I'm doing is enough, and it never feels like enough, and it always feels kind of wonky and crooked and half-hearted and all of those kind of things. I just felt like, okay, but I'm showing up and trying, and I'm doing what I know how to do best right now, and it'll get better because I do have that sort of drip coming from from Prabhupada because I'm taking a step forward, right? This is what comes up for me, like, he notices when I take a step forward, even if it's a crooked step, a baby step, or a non-glorious step, it's still a step, if I'm trying to be sincere to these activities that I'm engaging in, all the activities in my life at Prabhupada's house here, wherever, of keeping it connected somehow to Krishna consciousness, then I have a chance, even if it feels like I don't have a chance and I don't know what devotion and love are, it feels like, well, it says right here that I can still make progress without that much difficulty and ultimately make that direction towards Krishna, because within me is Krishna, Prabhupada's super soul that's going, well, she's trying awful hard and she's enthusiastic, so we should give her some breadcrumbs, and that feels encouraging somehow today. I needed to hear that. So thank you for like letting that all kind of bubble up.
Hey Krishna, thank you for sharing, Shmipriya. I feel warmth that you can relate, and we've talked about this before. But yeah, so we endeavor and we try through faith. I was listening to one of Prabhupada's lectures on one of the prior verses to this, and he says it begins with Shraddha, with faith. And so even if we're imperfect and even we don't apply ourselves perfectly through, I think he says Sastra and through Sangha, right? So apply yourself to the literature, chant, and be with other devotees who have faith. And in this way, love grows. And then that love is the next step, bhava. But first it begins with faith. And I remember he just said, so everyone here is very nicely situated in faith. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be spending your time this way.
I always think I have faith, and then when I'm reading, finishing the 5th canto, and it's just so far out of all these planets and lands and oceans of milk and honey and yogurt and sugarcane juice and planets and places and people I've never heard of, it can start to feel like there's no way I'm gonna conceive what this really looks like, but I just go, well, let's just read it anyway. Let's just read through it until we find a little nip of something that I can, and my faith is the only reason I keep reading, because the philosophy's not there as much as it's describing all these far out places. And so I have a tendency to get uncomfortable or kind of like, I want to skip this part or something. And then I go, well, we're committed to reading the entire Bhagavatam. So that means every word, every page, and you don't get to take out the parts you don't like or don't understand. And so I go back to faith and I connect to my faith and I go, I have faith in Srila Prabhupada, I have faith in this process, I have faith in Krishna, I have faith in this Bhagavatam. So we're going to read all the hard parts and the confusing parts and the inconceivable parts. And it is faith, but if I just picked up there, I don't know if I could build the faith, but I do have the faith because of all the other parts of Krishna consciousness, to read the parts and study the parts that are complicated for my material brain, right? Yeah, but just, yeah, definitely the faith plays a part in continuing on and not giving up.
I feel so moved and touched by your sharing, and what's coming to my mind is what Dear Govinda says about like coaching, right? So, or any of our endeavors, to the extent that we build relationship and build trust, then we can go to the difficult places, because otherwise it's not so easy, right? You try to have a difficult conversation with someone whom you've not built a rapport with, and I'm like, who are you? How are you saying these things to me? Right. And so, because you've developed a relationship, and I get that there's trust and there's faith in Srila Prabhupada and what we're reading, that even though it's difficult, even though we don't understand so much, continue with enthusiasm and dedication to continue. Something that's coming to me also is, in the beginning for me, I was very moved by the Bhagavad Gita, and I thought, there's something here, and I experienced conviction without understanding. And in my life, that's not usual. I'm very mental, and it's like, I got to understand if I'm going to move forward. If I don't understand, I freeze, I don't do anything. This, I was like, man, I don't get it. And I understand it's very important. And so I continued, and I came to classes, and I, was singing Mangala Arati. I didn't know what was going on, but I was like, if this is it, this is what I'm doing. And I don't understand how I was moved to such conviction when that isn't my experience of myself otherwise. And I'm grateful.
Experiencing spirituality firsthand of how this magic works. It's not logical about. It's not logical. And it's not linear. It's not any of the things that we have been taught. What love is, what devotion is, what consistency. All of it's a new way of looking at the entire way of being, the whole universe. And so, yeah, if we trust Prabhupada, we have a teacher. We're not doing this on our own out somewhere trying to figure out the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gita by ourselves. We have a whole line of teachers who know a lot more than us, more realize, who tell us, and I trust them. Yeah, if it were, I know some people do, and it always blows my mind, who read the Bhagavatam or know about the Bhagavatam and they don't have a teacher, and they just get some kind of, they can read it and they don't need all this, what we're talking about. They just read it, and either they come to some kind of realization without a teacher, or they're doing it without a teacher, and that's the way they're going to do it. They don't want to be part of religion. Not me. I need the teacher. I'm here today.
And speaking of that, one of the experience I have is that as I'm out and about in the devotional community, what I feel like I'm getting frequently enough that I'll speak about it is, oh, well, you should really come listen to my guru. Like, I think you would have and they're insistent. um, and a metaphor that's coming to me in this moment is like, I have my prescription and it works for me and I can see. And it's like someone saying, no, but really, you'll see so much better with my glasses. Here, take them. And I can't. It doesn't work that way. It's not so personal.
But there are those times when people have said, try this thing, and I didn't try it, or read this book, or come to this event or whatever, and I chose not to. And then later I was like, oh, I found that there was some value in that thing, and I wished I sooner, right? Like, because I'm like looking at this stuff. And I'm just thinking about practical material things right now. When I've said, even things that have been recommended to me over the years that I like, I wasn't attracted to, so I didn't try it. And then later when I did try it, I was like, oh, that would have been really helpful. So I second guess myself sometimes, I guess, because there are times when I wish I had. But when it comes to this now that I know Prabhupada and a little teaspoonful of, I don't want it. I'm not too interested in. It's hard to entertain any of that, and it all feels really weak and watered down for me. But I don't really take too much time on all that. When it gets offered to me, I'm pretty firm that that's not for me. It's spiritually, but materially, sometimes I don't try things that I think maybe I should have. Would have helped me in some non-spiritual way, but spiritually, I'm pretty convicted to this perfect path.
And so what I'm hearing is some distinctions, especially in like material endeavors of, do we feel satisfied? And if we don't, then we tend to adventure, right? And then I heard this from another devotee, there's that time for adventure and for seeking and for looking. And when we find something that calls to our heart, to our intuition, to our super soul, then you commit and you double down.
Yeah.
Right? Because if at that point you find something, you're like, oh, but I don't know. And you're still like all over the place. You don't reap the benefits of that thing that really calls to you.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in that from like material conception and what you experience now, where I get you as having doubled down. You have that commitment, you have that certainty. It doesn't mean you're closed, but the things that you hear or see, not moved so much by.
Unless I can line it up with something over here and find the parallel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hinging everything in Bhakti. Krishna.
Yeah, that's this verse, Yuktanam, same word as yoga, source of English words like yoke, means to connect everything in bhakti, whether it's career, finances, relationships. So this is the third of the four seed verses. The seed verse, the Bhagavad-gita is the summary essence of the whole Vedas, and these four verses, chapter 10, text 8 to 11, are the seed, as the Prabhupada called them, the nutshell verses of the Bhagavad-gita. So every verse in Bhagavad-gita is completely transcendental, and some verses are particularly important for us. And this is definitely a pillar, a pillar verse, yes, in Bhagavad Gita. And so, yeah, I appreciate the discussion. There are two things. There's in the verse, there's sincerity and intelligence. So we want to use our intelligence to progress in self-realization, make powerful distinctions. Still, of the two, sincerity is the most important. So Krishna and Prabhupada are saying here, like, even if our intelligence is lacking, which we'll likely find it is, Krishna will give us the intelligence if we're sincere. Sincere means like Krishna's the super soul, is the mechanism of clear intention, consciousness, and the results of. I really want to serve you. I really want to serve you, Krishna. Then Krishna will reciprocate with that and give us the intelligence of how to make distinctions and what to do, what not to do, what to focus on, what not to focus on. And so sincerity and intelligence, both vital. And sincerity that's the key. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. And something that's coming to me from that is where in my life so often I haven't listened to my intuition, my super soul guidance, and I think I know better mentally. So one example I have of that in my life was I worked at an insurance company for years. And yeah, it was a very good paying job with health insurance and, I can list all the benefits. And meanwhile, I couldn't clearly see my purpose and I struggled in the positions that I held. And I remember at one time I was meeting my manager for review because this is the thing, right? And there's all these like metrics and how often are you clicking your mouse and all this kind of thing. So anyway, she's asking me, why do I think I'm struggling? And I wasn't oblivious. I knew that this was going to come up. And because I'm a millennial, I brought her a meme. And the meme was a cat in a box in one of those carriers. And literally the whole top is off of the carrier, but the gate that like you usually open to let them in and out is like on it. And the cat's sitting in the box, not going anywhere, even though they're perfectly capable. And I was like, this is me. Like I'm just stuck in this position and I don't understand um how to move and I feel very restricted and I understand it's completely of my own doing, but I had no motivation in that place or in that role. And it was a choice. It was a choice, and that's what I was choosing. And so much developed and came to me when I chose to leave. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Rasamrita, and everyone. Good to
Marina.
good to hear from you. Um, I was just you were reading this verse and the purport, and I'm just like tears are just falling down my face because I believe it so much. During my hardest times in life, I've received guidance from Krishna. It was surely not my intelligence. It was surely, revealing from within the heart that I was carried and that I was being guided and that I was receiving purification. And and I did have Shraddha, I did have faith. And so I was so happy that you brought this up and your analogy of I had the same experience when I received my glasses. I was just so amazed when they, corrected my vision. When I took the test the first time, I was just stunned because I was like, oh, I can't believe I can't see. I can't see those letters. I had no idea what I wasn't seeing. And then when they corrected my vision, I could see, and I could see that tree, and I could see, those things and those letters as you were saying. So it seems to me that, like Lakshmi Priya said, you show up, and Krishna guides your steps, and like Father's Day, Rasamrita, your association helped me so much. I was just so grateful, having the conversations with you and hearing the experiences that you've had in your journey in bhakti and in in your Krishna conscious journey. Um, that for me was just, Krishna helping me along the way. Even though, I've been in the association of Srila Prabhupada, and I can say with conviction that, his potency sustains me, even though I was very young and have no memory of it. His potency is just incredible. So, I was also guided away from an insurance company job. Funny enough that you say that, Russell Rita. Um, it just, and I was receiving counseling at the time, and I was having the hardest time understanding this counselor. She said, I'm just not sure this is a fit for you. And I was trying so hard in the corporate world, and luckily I found my way into something that where, it's I'm bookkeeping, but it's a job that where I serve devotees, so it's beautiful. And yeah, I'm just so thankful for you guys' association, and for this path, for Safatov, for what I'm learning, and how I'm supported in my Krishna conscious journey. And this verse just again just I it makes me cry. I have so much faith. So thank you for choosing this one. Hare Krishna.
Right.
Hi, Krishna Rita. Thank you so much for your sharing. I really appreciate hearing, yeah, that this verse moves you to tears, and how you can relate to me, and the things I shared. How I didn't know that you had been in the presence of Prabhupada, and yeah, I really appreciate your sharing of his potency and the faith that you carry and how it sustains you. And yes, along with the glasses analogy, I don't have that privilege of having met Prabhupada or have been in his association while he was still in his body. My association and my experience of his potency is through his books and through his lectures and recordings. I can see video of him. And another thing that I've experienced very potent is the stories from those who have experienced him, and to see how they're moved and how they're touched to such emotion. It's so personal, and it moves me to hear from them. And at the same time, not all stories are equal from others, right? And not everybody experiences Prabhupada the same way. So with that, I'll say that Dear Govinda is my lens to Prabhupada that increases my love and devotion towards him. And if it wasn't for having met Dear Govinda, I wouldn't have this relationship with Prabhupada. I'd just be walking around without glasses, thinking everything's fine. Like the trees are blobs, and I'm just like, okay, here we go. So I'm very grateful for the lens that he's provides with his guidance and his classes, and that's opened me up to so many other um, teachers, and to read and to hear and to listen and to chant. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions, stories they'd like to share, feelings?
sad that it makes sense that we have a spiritual father now, grown-ups, you know. It's a spiritual father, the father that we had, that we came into this world with to teach us whatever lessons. I appreciated that comment that there's this perfect father now. We have now.
Mm.
We don't need to even go there. There's a perfect father available on Father's Day and every other day. You know.
Thank you for bringing that back, Lakshmi Priya. I've heard, right? It said that Prabhupada built a house that the whole world can live. And it wasn't until that I endeavored to travel to Europe and I was staying at an ashram. And I had visited a few ashrams and I experienced such hospitality, such warmth, such I can go someplace where the center is Krishna and where there's practice. And I was sitting in Zurich at their temple. They have an office where there's a Prabhupada Murti and he's at his desk and he's writing and there's books everywhere. And I was just thinking, like, I'm in my father's office while he's working, right? Like, it just felt so sweet. And then that thought came to me. He built a house that the whole world can live. Wherever I go, I have a home. And even if it isn't an ashram or some devotee's home, like I carry him with me. Um, and something else that I got from that trip is that even when I was in places where there wasn't devotee association, somehow there was always bhakti. And I was so grateful because I was afraid. I was afraid when I went off and did something else that I would somehow be leaving my practice. It came with me wherever I went. It's very moving. It's very touching. Um, and again, to like refocus on that, the example of his character, right? The example of how he is and how he was with the devotees and so caring, so loving for their well-being, their relationship with themselves, each other, and Krishna. Always so kind, always so tolerant, always so generous. I'm reading Miracle on Second Avenue, and this book is just full of, Prabhupada wrote me a letter. No reason except he wrote me a letter, and how sweet and how kind. And there's many instances, the gentleman who wrote that book, his name's Mukunda, where he said, yeah, Prabhupada gave me this advice and said to do this, and I didn't listen. And years later, I think that was really good advice. And I think how parental that is, right? Like, at no point was Prabhupada like, hey, why didn't you listen to me, right? No, he just simply said something and you follow or you don't. And Mukunda experienced it the way I've heard people talk of their parents, like, I should have listened to that. Would have been a good idea.
Yeah, got a lot of instructions we can listen to.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your association. If there isn't any other sharing, I will close us out. No, remember the words. So I'm gonna pull them up. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Vanchakalpa Jirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, wishing you all beautiful days full of
Bhagavad-gita ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you for asking me to be in this class today.